For constructing the FD. During constructing the FD, the constructor must be aware of the labels for the entities, for the processes, data stores, and arrows labels. We need to use a meaningful name. The name should be understandable by the reader and give direct meaning to them. Then we need to start the numbering process. We start in ascending order, starting the first process with number 1 and then go. And we need to try to make each model of the FDs at most has 9 processes or 9 bubbles. And it is a good practice to redraw the DFD as many times as necessary in order to enhance it and make it clear. And we need to make the DFD model logically consistent, which means we need to avoid the bubbles or the processes that have inputs but no outputs, and processes that have outputs but no inputs, and we need to label all the flows in the DFD model. DFD. The first level it's called context diagram, and it's level 5, and it shows the systems and its external entities. It shows the boundary of your system and how your system is gonna be interacted with other external systems or entities. Context diagram consists of only one process or bubble, which represents the whole system, and consists as well from the data flows, shows the interfaces between the system and the external entities. In this context diagram, we need to show all the data flows into and out of the system, and all source and sinks. The sources means here the provider of the data, and the sinks means the recipient of the data. Context diagram should include the following guidelines or the following rules. There is no ID for the process. The ID here is going to be phi. It shows only one process or one bubble. The name is usually a system name. There is no data store. An example of context diagram of our Al-Baha library system. As you can see here, the name of the system in the middle. We have one bubble or one process called Al-Baha library system, which is the system name, and these are like bookstores, members, faculties, journals, university administration are external entities. And you can see here the arrows means data that is gonna be transferred between the system, which is Al-Baha library system, with external system. For example, you can see the bookstores. There's like new books data is gonna be transferred from bookstores to the Al-Baha library system, and the order is gonna be transferred from Al-Baha library system to the bookstores. Example of context diagram for payroll system. As you can see, the system name in the middle. This model contains one bubble or one process, which is the system names, and 3 external entities: payroll department, debt, employee, and employee debt. And you can see the data that are transmitted between the external entities with the employee payroll system. So you can see the employee depth here. It's just receive information regarding payroll registers from the employee payroll system. Another example of quantity diagram, it for Al-Baha University registration system. As you can see, the main system, it is in the middle, and ID is phi, which means it's quantity diagram, and there are three external entities: students, faculties, and university administration. And you can see all the roles are labeled. 0. The FD, which is the next level, it comes after quantity diagram. Level 0 represent the view of the major functions with the system as well as the major interfaces between those functions. In other words, we can say that level 0 contains the main functional requirement for the system. So how we can create or construct level 0? We need to identify main functions. Each function is gonna be represented as one process bubble, and you can you can see like we need to start from the first major process, and we need to number it with number 1, the second major process number 2, and so on. And as we said earlier, we need to make the DFD as simple as we can, which means we need to just include at most 9 tuples or 9 processes for simplicity's sake. The process should be labeled with the action pair. All sources and sinks appear in the quantity diagram must also appear on the level 0 in order to keep the consistency between quantity diagram and level 0. And all major inputs and outputs appear in the quantity diagram must also appear on the level 0. Okay, here what differentiates level 0 from quantity diagram: data stores appears on this level. Example of level 0 for the payroll system. As you can see from this model, there are 3 processes: 1. Compute worked hours, 2. Prepare payroll registers, and 3. Prepare paychecks. These are 3 main functional requirements, and we have 4 data stores labeled with the worked hours file, payroll file, master employee file, and checks file. And you can see there are 2 entities, employee and employee depth. And in this level we start identify the major processes, in other words the main functional requirement for the system, for the payroll. Level of DFD is called child level 1 or called child diagram, and this level contains more descriptions, more details about the payment process. This level chart diagram cannot produce output or receive input that the parent process doesn't have, which means this level as well should be consistent with level 0 All data flow in or out of the beta process must be also shown in the corresponding child diagram. This is same as in the guidelines or on the rules in level 0. But here's the numbering process different. We need to use the parent ID don't 1 starting from 1 and goes on 2 3 and so on, and we need to make it simple as we can. Just we need to include only 9 tuples or processes in this level 1. It might be new data stores can be appeared, and data labels, more data labels are also can be appeared on the child diagram. This is an example of child diagram or level 1 for the process number 2 on level 0 DFD for the payroll system. So as you can see, the process 2 now is divided into 3 processes. 2.1 calculate gross payment process, 2.2 deduct tax process, and 2.3 deduct others and calculate net payment process. And you can see on the right side 3 data stores: worked hours file, master employee files, and payroll files. On the left side you can see lookup tax table data stores, and this data stores appears for the first time. So we can say that level 1 include more details, more descriptions about the main process, and you can see like the process labels are in must be an action verb, and the data flow must be labeled with a noun phrase. Okay. This slide and the next slide give rules for drawing FD, and you can see rule number 1: at least 1 input and 1 output. You can see here like it's incorrect because the process doesn't have an input. The correct one, like we can see, input. Same here in the B and on the B, you can see the process no output, and it's the correct is the process should have an input and output. On C, the process label impulse, which is incorrect, it's now should be a verb, and it's now written prepare impulse. D, no direct interactions between data stores, which means we can't draw an arrow between data stores. If we need to transfer data from one data source to another data source, it should be by a process. E, no direct interactions between sources and data stores, and this is same to the D, which means we can transfer any kind of data between entities and data stores. All the transfer should be made by a process. Same here on F, no direct interactions between sources and things between entities. All transactions or all data transmission should be made by process. On G, the arrow should be one arrowhead, not doubles. Alright, as you can see on the slide, as no sudden branching in flow lines, which means we can't use the same line and branch it. On I, no sudden joining flow lines, we can join uh, uh, two or more flow lines as one. Alright, and then there's should be no loops uh, within the process. And I think the last slide or on the DFD is the physical and logical DFD cycle. You can see here the cycle, like DFD represent the physical existing system, then goes to the logical existing system, might be go to the logical new system, then to the physical new system, and this is the cycle of the